Welcome back, everyone. I am Brian. You are Chords and Notes Nation, and you have been invited into my living room for another history session, huh? Have a seat. We are going to enjoy this. I am exploring Indonesia, and that is the first country that I am going to be doing all of this sort of documentary series with. I will be doing with others, but Indonesia, you guys are like my biggest supporters on this channel, so I owe this to you, and I owe this to myself, having been a social studies teacher in the past, having that part of my brain piqued with curiosity as far as the history and the culture and the people, all of that. And I have an Indonesia documentary series playlist, so please check that out. I'll link that at the end of this one as well, at the end of this video. Now, the most recent one that I did was the history of Indonesia in 12 minutes, which it does not do it justice. It's just a basic outline, okay? But it was a platform for me to get started with as far as where do I start looking in the historical context. And you guys said it's mostly spot on, the information that was in that documentary. So I figured, okay, so it sounds like it's pretty reliable. Now, there are things in history prior to the Srivijaya Empire, and when I find some interesting, reliable sources on that, I'll probably do that. But let's start with them. And this is off of Chronicle YouTube channel. This was put up 10 months ago. And we're just going to check it out. It's only like 4.5 minutes long. But I'll talk about what interests me. I'll give you an honest reaction as always. And you guys interact with me. Let me know if this information is correct, if it's not correct, if you have any links to any videos that I can watch, preferably in English, so I don't miss anything. And we'll just sort of start building this together and building a resource on that playlist for everybody to come check out Indonesia. I mean, obviously I have a lot of the artists that I've been reacting to, the musicians. I want to get into the culture. I want to get into the food. I want to get into the fashion. I want to get into all of this stuff, everything that I can. That's my goal. So, you guys ready?
Among the great maritime trading empires of history, the Kingdom of Srivijaya, based on the Indonesian island of Sumatra, ranks among the wealthiest and most splendid. Early records from the area are scarce. Archaeological evidence suggests that the kingdom may have begun to coalesce as early as 200 CE, and
so we're looking at CE, 200 CE. Okay. So 1800 years ago? Does that sound right? You guys let me know.
Likely was an organized political entity by the year 500. Its capital was near what is now Palembang, Indonesia. We know for certain that for at least 400 years, between the 7th and 11th centuries CE, the kingdom of Srivijaya prospered from the rich Indian Ocean trade. Srivijaya controlled the key Malacca Straits, between the Malay Peninsula and the islands of Indonesia, through which passed all sorts of luxury items such as spices, tortoiseshell, silk, jewels, camphor, and tropical woods. The kings of Srivijaya used their wealth, gained from transit taxes on these goods, to extend their domain as far north as what is now Thailand, and Cambodia on the Southeast Asian mainland, and as far east as Borneo. The first historical source that mentions Srivijaya is the memoir of a Chinese Buddhist monk, Ai Tsing, who visited the kingdom for 6 months in 671 CE. He describes a rich and well-organized society, which presumably had been in existence for some time. A number of inscriptions in Old Malay from the Palembang area, which is dated from as early as 682, also mention the Srivijayan kingdom. The earliest of these inscriptions, the Kedukan Bukit inscription, tells the story of Dapunta Hyang Sri Jayanasa, who founded Srivijaya with the help of 20,000 troops. King Jayanasa went on to conquer other local kingdoms such as Malay, which fell in 684, incorporating them into his growing Srivijayan Empire. With its base on Sumatra firmly established, in the 8th century, Srivijaya expanded into Java and the Malay Peninsula, giving it control over the Malacca Straits and the ability to charge tolls on the Indian Ocean maritime silk routes. As a choke point between the wealthy empires of China and India, Srivijaya was able to accumulate considerable riches and further land.
Yeah, I'm going to pause it right there since we have a map. So I'm assuming these are the straits here that he's talking about. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have a lot of countries there that were engaged in commerce, in maritime commerce, and that's huge, right? So if you have a lot of trade coming in through this area, and you control those straits there, you're gonna get a lot of money. I have to imagine that was a pretty wealthy empire.
By the 12th century, its reach extended as far east as the Philippines.
Wow, that's far.
The wealth of Srivijaya supported an extensive community of Buddhist monks, who had contacts with their co-religionists in Sri Lanka and the Indian mainland. The Srivijayan capital became an important center of Buddhist learning and thought. This influence extended to smaller kingdoms within Srivijaya's orbit, as well, such as the Sailendra kings of Central Java, who ordered the construction of Borobudur, one of the largest and most magnificent examples of Buddhist monumental building in the world. Srivijaya presented a tempting target for foreign powers and for pirates.
I'm sure.
In 1025, Rajendra Chola of the Chola Empire based in southern India attacked some of the Srivijayan kingdom's key ports in the first of a series of raids that would last at least 20 years. Srivijaya managed to fend off the Chola invasion after 2 decades, but it was weakened by the effort. As late as 1225, Chinese author Cho Juqua described Srivijaya as the richest and strongest state in western Indonesia, with 15 colonies or tributary states under its control. By 1288, however, Srivijaya was conquered by the Singasari kingdom. At this tumultuous time, in 1291–92, the famous Italian traveler Marco Polo stopped in Srivijaya on his way back from Yuan, China. Despite several attempts by fugitive princes to revive Srivijaya over the next century, however, the kingdom was completely erased from the map by the year 1400. One decisive factor in the fall of Srivijaya was the conversion of the majority of Sumatran and Javanese to Islam, introduced by the very Indian Ocean traders who had long provided Srivijaya's wealth.
Yeah, I want to take a look at this map here for a moment. Okay. All right. Okay, we'll leave it there. I think we'll do this one next. The exploring Singasari, the lost kingdom of Java. So all right, so that's just the basic outline of it. And it was, and it kind of makes sense as I'm listening to this, and you have this king come in, and he's got 20,000 troops, and he's subjugating the people and conquering lands around it. It's going to make sense because here he must have known that this was a key point, especially because of those straits, because you have different cultures coming through there. That was a highly traveled and highly traded area. He saw an opportunity, okay, that you're able to tax these people. And if there's a lot of trade moving in and out of there, you want to make sure that it's secure. I'm not all about conquering people, but it kind of makes sense if you think about it strategically from the 40,000-foot view. All right, if you just go in there and make deals with people and say, hey, you're going to be our ally and we'll protect you, that sort of thing, someone else can come along and they can find they can fracture that relationship and take those people away from you. So in a sense, sometimes you do need to conquer and you need to establish yourself firmly so that does not happen. Okay. And if you think about it, businesses do that too. It's just a different. It's the same concept, just a different realm. Okay. And so yeah, I have to imagine that you had a lot of that trade going on. You had exposure to all these different cultures, and of course, certain ideas, certain principles are going to start seeping in to your area, and things are going to change over time. That's just the way things go. Okay, no change is permanent, but we do know that change is. There's always going to be change, and so if you set yourself up for success, you're able to absorb that change and still remain, intact. But eventually, over time, there's going to be a major change, and so now we have this. The Singasari are gonna come in and establish themselves, and so what was the timeline here for Srivijaya was about what did you say, 7th to 11th centuries? So you're looking at 300-400 years of influence, and it's a pretty decent amount of time. But I have to imagine that they amassed quite a bit of wealth, and that also attracts people to come in and say, you know what, I want that. I'm going to take that, because they understood the importance, the strategic importance of that area. So there we go. That's the Srivijaya Empire in a little bit of a nutshell. But if we find more information, you guys send it my way. If something deeper, more interesting comes along that we can really start to explore that empire, we will get back to it. But we're going to move on. God bless you. Jesus loves you. Thank you so much for being here.